So there's something that socially has disturbed me for a few years here, um, and that is the way we treat famous people who are accused of sexual misconduct. Right? So, for instance, you'll get all of the pro science liberal people criticizing Donald Trump for something, but those same exact people will just conveniently forget that Neil deGrasse Tyson was also accused of things. So, how about we remind the world? Let's read an article from mid 2019. So, this is from Vox. I'm not necessarily promoting them, I don't care. I think reading anything about this, reminding the world that this is a thing that happened, is worth something, right? So the title, Neil deGrasse Tyson was accused of sexual misconduct by 4 women. He's keeping all his jobs. The American Museum of Natural History just concluded its investigation, and Tyson is staying. By Anna North, July 29th, 2019, 2:30 p.m. EDT. Okay, so this happened. This happened right in the middle of 2019. This was written. And this was written in response to the fact that Neil deGrasse Tyson was actually, right? So, like, whatever you might think of Vox or whatever, this happened. This is documentation of this occurring. Okay, so now the article. Astrophysicist and TV host Neil deGrasse Tyson has been under investigation by the American Museum of Natural History in New York, where he is the director of the Hayden Planetarium, since 4 women accused him of sexual misconduct last year. But last week, the museum announced that it had concluded its investigation and Tyson will keep his job. Okay, so that's fine, right? The company, like, the people that pay him, the museum, is like, yeah, okay, this doesn't disturb us. Okay. But why did everybody even forget that this happened? Right? Because come, like, late 2019, if I even brought this up with anybody, they'd just be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what? Nobody remembers that? What? Did I just slip into a parallel dimension where this didn't happen? What? And this actually includes the guy who told me about it in the first place. When, like, later on, a few months after he was, like, you know, they decided not to do anything about it, I brought it up with him again, and he was like, what are you talking about? Like, why did everybody forget that Neil deGrasse Tyson was accused by 4 different individual human beings of sexual misconduct? Just because the museum's like, okay, that doesn't affect his job here, that doesn't mean we should all forget about it. What the fuck? Anyway, carrying on. This is a quote. Based on the results of the investigation, Dr. Tyson remains an employee and director of the Hayden Planetarium, end quote. The museum said in a statement to the New York Times. And that's their prerogative, right? I'm not, whether I agree or disagree with their decision there, that's their prerogative, right? And then the quote continues, because this is a confidential, personal matter, there will be no further statements by the museum, end quote. And sure, I can respect that, that's fine. But, like I said, why are we as a culture just going to, like, completely forget about this? The museum conducted an investigation. That's not even the U.S. legal system. That's just his place of business. Right? So his place of business can be like, well, okay, this doesn't affect his job here. But it wasn't a legal investigation. For fuck's sake. I do not know how to pronounce that. I'm going to make a guess, but I apologize if I get this massively wrong. For musician Chia Ahmet, Tchiya, Tchiya, who says Tyson raped her when the two were graduate students at the University of Texas, Austin in 1984, the news is concerning. Yeah, I feel it. I think it should concern everyone because he remains famous. He remains a public personality. When she spoke out about Tyson, her biggest worry was that he would harm other women. Again, reasonable. Quote, "It doesn't feel like people would be safe working around him," end quote, she told Fox. Your concern is valid. Oh my God. After Ahmet's allegation garnered public attention in late 2018, 3 other women came forward with allegations of sexual misconduct by Tyson. One, Ashley Watson, see, it's a white name, I know how to say that, said he had made unwanted advances toward her when she worked for him on the Fox National Geographic show Cosmos in 2018. And that was actually the one that I first heard about. Tyson has denied raping Ahmet and said he intended nothing sexual with the other women. And that's good enough. So, because he's like this famous astrophysicist and TV personality, his word is worth more than that of 4 other human beings? That's disgusting. No. Fox and Nat Geo also investigated the accusations. Again, it's not even a legal system investigating this. It's just fucking companies. But earlier this year, they announced that Tyson would be returning to TV. And again, they're companies, so with the museum investigation now concluded, he has so far faced no career consequences in connection with the allegations. And both investigations have left the women questioning whether justice was really done. No, it wasn't. You didn't even get the justice system involved somehow. Like, why are just the companies fucking doing the investigations? In the museum investigation, Ahmet said, quote, "It seemed like they were judging my character more than what happened," end quote. That's what it seems too. Even, like, holy shit. Even if they're not judging your character, what they're doing is they're dismissing you because you are not comparable to him in their view. That's a judgment of character, basically. Like, come on now. God. So far, I agree with her. I've not read this before. I was talking about Neil deGrasse Tyson with somebody, and I was like, oh, yeah, remember that thing that happened? Yeah, let's mention that. Let's bring that up again. The investigations into Tyson have left the women involved with more questions than answers. The American Museum of Natural History, where Tyson has directed the planetarium since 1996, began its investigation when Ahmet Watson and 2 other women came forward. One, physics and astronomy professor Caitlin Allers, I think, says that Tyson tried to look at her tattoo under her dress and touched her in a way that made her uncomfortable at a party after a 2009 meeting of the American Astronomical Society. What the fuck? Another, who has remained anonymous, told BuzzFeed News that Tyson had propositioned her at a 2010 party for museum employees. Now again, regardless of what you think of BuzzFeed, what you think of Vox, what you think of Fox, what you think of any of these sources, These are human beings saying that Neil deGrasse Tyson behaved inappropriately towards them, and everybody's just like, yeah, that's fine. That should be a problem. That should be a problem. The fact that everybody's just like, yeah, whatever. He's a cool guy. That should be a problem. That's a red fucking flag, guys. In a 2018 Facebook post, Tyson responded that he never intended to make Allers feel uncomfortable. Right, you're just like pulling up her dress so you can see a fucking tattoo. That's not okay. I mean, maybe you're just stupid. You know, like a little kid might do something like that and not intend, not even realize, right? But that's where you take the kid and you're like, look, Johnny, I know you're 4, but you can't be doing shit like that. Doesn't matter what you intended, that's not cool. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a grown-ass man. He knows. He should fucking know. What is he doing? Come on now. And that behavior toward Watson was meant to be friendly. Am I getting the names? Who was Watson again? Watson was the Cosmos girl, right? Yeah. Tended to be friendly. Nothing more. He has not responded publicly to the anonymous woman's allegation. The anonymous woman's allegation. I was like, anonymous women? What? I must have read that wrong. Okay. Because we got names for 3 of them. Or responded to Vox's request for comment. Right. Because he knows he's wrong. He knows that's not going to go well for him. Vox isn't the cops. If it's the cops coming for a comment, I'm going to talk to my lawyer. But you're a public personality. So, like, you got something this serious, but you don't think it's a legal thing, and, like, come on now. This is a red flag that you're refusing to comment. Ahmet, meanwhile, says that during a visit to Tyson's apartment, when the two were astronomy graduate students, Tyson offered her a drink of water. The next thing she knew, he was performing oral sex on her. Then he climbed on top of her and began penetrating her before she passed out again. So, wait. He gave her water and she's passing out? This sounds like rape to me. In his Facebook post, Tyson says the incident never happened. Right, because that's the most convenient way to just be like, oh, she was drunk on water. She doesn't know what happened. She's wrong. It didn't happen. What? When the museum investigated Ahmet's allegation, an investigator spoke to her once for 2 or 3 hours. Ahmet said, quote, "They wanted a lot of details about my personal life, my sexual life." End quote, she told Vox. Including things that had nothing to do with the allegation. Quote, "I guess they were trying to make my character look bad," end quote, she said. Which, yeah, that's a thing they do. That's a thing they do. Victim blaming or, something along those lines. Try to make the, this is just for, anything, really. This is how defense attorneys operate. In general, they try to make the accuser look like a complete buffoon or a liar or something that's going to make you just not accept that what they're saying is legitimate. That's how they behave. That's always how they behave. It's always how they behaved. It's the earliest records of any incidents like this. That's how they behave. Pretty sure this predates legal systems. This is just how people operate. The museum has not responded to Vox's request for comment. Of course not. Of course they wouldn't. Why would they? Why would they? They got away scot-free. I mean, they're not even the one that whatever. They're not even the guilty party here. Except by association, I suppose. The announcement of the closure of its investigation comes several months after Fox and Nat Geo, the networks that host Tyson's shows Star Talk and Cosmos, concluded their own separate investigations. Yeah, again, this should be dealt with by the cops or something. Should get the legal system involved in this shit. Not just the fucking companies that he works for. What? In March, the networks released a statement saying, quote, "The investigation is complete and we are moving forward with both StarTalk and Cosmos," end quote. StarTalk returns to TV in April, so that would have been April of 2020. Cosmos has not yet aired. The investigations do not prevent the women from bringing legal action against Tyson at a later date, which I don't know the status of that but they fucking should. The women involved commented on a lack of transparency in the network's investigations. Quote, "I can't really comment on conclusions of the investigation because I don't really know what the investigation concluded or if any other further actions are being taken," end quote. And this was Allers to Vox in March. She also told the New York Times that the investigations did not seem thorough. Well, there's a shock. And that she spoke to representatives of each network for half an hour. Which, I mean, to just like say your piece, probably sufficient. But for someone to become convinced that what you're saying is legitimate, probably insufficient. After the Fox and Nat Geo investigations, Watson decided not to participate in the museum investigation. Quote, "They contacted me months after I had already spoken with 2 other investigators from Fox and Nat Geo," end quote, she told Vox in an email. Quote, "I was emotionally exhausted, felt humiliated, and was desperately trying to move on with my life," end quote. Yeah. Yeah, which you deserve to be able to. And, I mean, you don't deserve to be emotionally exhausted or humiliated, but you deserve to be able to move on with your life. That's that last one you deserve. The other 2 are bullshit because they should be taking you seriously. Watson isn't surprised Tyson is keeping his job. But, quote, "I wish the general public would understand that just because he's cleared doesn't mean he didn't do it," end quote, she said. Right. That's the whole point. The whole point of me talking about this right now is this. Quote, "I wish the general public would understand that just because he's cleared doesn't mean he didn't do it," end quote. Not only does the general public not understand this, apparently, the general public just completely fucking forgot about it. Because he's a hero of science. Yeah, he's not a martyr yet, he's still alive. When he dies, he's going to become a saint of science, just like Carl Sagan. The museum investigation, as well as those of Fox and Nat Geo, are just a few among many internal investigations conducted by companies in response to sexual misconduct allegations in recent years. In several high-profile cases, those investigations have led to accused men keeping their jobs, while accusers voiced concerns about the process. Right. So, this is a single instance of a systemic problem. For example, Susie Hardy, who said that TV host Ryan Seacrest had assaulted her, wrote that NBC investigators failed to interview witnesses she provided and did not share their findings with her. Yeah. So, famous dude, TV personality, is innocent. Maybe after he retires, then we'll look into it. Okay? Fucking hell. Meanwhile, Ahmet, who is black, believes her claims would have been taken more seriously if she were white. That is entirely possible. I would venture to say that is pretty goddamn probable, actually. Quote, "If Neil deGrasse Tyson had raped a white woman, he would not be on TV anymore, and this woman would have received a settlement, end quote. She tweeted last week. Yeah, so I would say, like, asserting that as, like, a definite fact is a little strong, but I feel like there's a high probability that it would go much more in her favor if she were white. Again, these are all symptoms of systematic problems. Today, she is trying to move on from her experience with Tyson. Quote, I'm still allowing it to hold me back, end quote, she said. Quote, I've got to find a way beyond it, end quote. And I hope she has or does. Because, goddamn it, society's not going to fucking help you, unfortunately. And when it comes to Tyson himself, quote, I think it's disgusting that people still watch the shows. Oh, no, wait, this is her. And when it comes to Tyson himself, quote, I think it's disgusting that people still watch the shows and support the institutions that provide his salary, end quote, Ahmed said. I agree. One, he's not careful with the shit that he says anyway. So, you know, like, particularly when he's talking about things like astrology and evolution and other things, like criticisms of things or claims from fields that he doesn't know anything about. He just says crazy random shit that's not true. So he's not careful. He's clearly not careful. And within his own field, he seems lazy. So, like, he's an astrophysicist, right? So, like, the things he says about astrophysics on public television are often just lazy. He also has this weird thing where, like, he denies that he's an atheist, but also claims that he doesn't believe in God. Like, atheism just means that you don't believe in God, dude. What? So, like, on top of him just, like, this should be remembered by society that this event happened. 4 separate human beings said, this motherfucker's a creeper, this motherfucker's a liar, this motherfucker does things to people against their will. Apart from that, he's also, at best, lazy and confused about all sorts of things. And then the final line. Quote, the only way things will change, she said, is if we pull out our dollars. Right, stop paying for his shit. Stop paying his salary. Stop supporting him. Right. No, God damn it. Why did we forget about this? Why did we just let this slide as a society? Because he's the science guy? Because we love Carl Sagan and he's the heir to Carl Sagan. Like, you know, he openly, like, talks about that shit all of the time as a manipulation. He knows that Carl Sagan was beloved by the American people. So he uses that shit to get some of that onto himself. Which, honestly, that's just a smart move. Like, but that's what it is. It's just a manipulation. And apparently it has worked so well that he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And, you know, perhaps short of murder or something. And he's fine. Like, he can just wash his hands of it. And I think this is disgusting. I absolutely agree with Ahmed. This is insane. Why did we forget about this? We don't forget about it with other people. Why did we forget about it with him?